All right, well, welcome everyone to our next presentation, which is the dynamics of combining major and planned gifts for maximum results. I know that many of us are wearing multiple hats these days, and so it is not uncommon to find yourself in front of a prospective donor that might be thinking about several gift options. And so this session is going to be particularly helpful to you. Our speakers are Denise Fleckenstein and Arnold, I got it right this time, D'Ambrosio. Denise is well known as a co-chair of Leave a Legacy and past president. She's currently at United Way, where she is the director of gift planning and endowment for United Way of Southeastern Michigan. She has been active in the community, is currently on the Speakers Bureau for Leave a Legacy, and just really an all-around cheerleader for everything philanthropic in our community. Arnold has over 20 years of experience in fundraising. He is currently the Vice President for Alumni and Advancement at Northwood University, where he is in the middle of conducting an $80 million campaign. So they make those checks out to Northwood, right?
Please.
Yeah. So you're in for a treat. I know this will be very helpful. And by the way, Arnold and Denise used to work together at Beaumont, and so perhaps they'll share interesting stories about that experience of working with each other. So please join me in welcoming Denise and Arnold.
Good morning, everyone. It was a pleasure to be here with colleagues and friends in the gift planning community. We hope to share with you today some insights about gift planning, and really we're all on the ground working very hard to bring gifts to our organizations to further our missions and help satisfy those values of our donors and philanthropists, we learned today. When Arnold called me and said, "Hey, would you like to do a presentation with me about blending major and planned gifts?" I said, "Well, why would I want to do it with that guy?" But I thought about it and said, well, this is so timely for me because I've always been focused on planned gifts in my entire nonprofit career. And recently with United Way, I was asked to also take on responsibility of major gifts. So this is all very timely for me, and I really appreciated Jay's comments this morning about what that means for all of us in our organizations and going forward. So what we'd like to do today is, first of all, we just want to set some ground rules for the presentation. This is a dialogue. Arnold and I are going to be talking about this, but it's also a dialogue with all of you in the audience. You have a lot that you know about. Your experiences matter, and we're going to be asking you to contribute to that through this presentation. We are going to talk about a gift process. So there's a beginning and an end, and what are all the details from start to finish that has to happen in order to really land that gift. We don't know all the answers. There's a lot of experience in this room, and so we are going to ask you to share those experiences as well.
And one thing that we want to make sure we get as a ground rule is, sorry, there are no rhetorical questions today. All right? So what we want is a dialogue, because that's the best way for people to learn, for us to learn, and to exchange ideas. One thing as we go through the process, talking about this, we really want to talk about practical application. So we're not going to get into a bunch of things about taxation. I'm not an expert in taxation, all that stuff, but we will talk about the practical application of these gifts in working with individuals. And we're going to tell you right now, what we're going to show, the end result did not happen the way we thought it would. The gift that we thought, but some other things did happen, other forms of gifts. So we want to talk about that. As well, a big part of this, the speaker before talked about this, that on this level, when we're talking about combining gifts, cash, income-producing gifts like annuities, CRTs, and bequests, we're talking about somebody else's philanthropic mission. They may not have it articulated yet, but they have it in their mind and in their spirit. So part of our job is to bring that out through this process and combining that with the mission of the institution. You know, a lot of times we look at it like, you got money over here, we're doing great work, give us your money so we can get something done. We don't want to look at it that way. They have a philanthropic objective, we have a mission on what we want to do. Let's see how we can work together to make both of those philanthropic objectives happen.
All right, so this is our simplified form of the elements of the process that we're going to talk about today. And it's really like a puzzle that we have to solve with the donor, because all of this is about building the relationship with the donor, and each step along the way is going to help us do that. And again, we're going to talk about this a lot. It's a dialogue with the donor. And Jay mentioned that, you know, we're going to be asking those questions. We have to have a lot of opportunity to ask questions.
Okay, the campaign needs, as we start off the prospects, what are the type of people that we're dealing with, the type of prospects to present these gift options? These are people that are close friends to the institution. They believe in your mission. They can be major gift candidates. They have the assets, but they don't necessarily have to be wealthy. But obviously, people need assets in order to create a significant gift of this nature. They're going to be true believers in your institution, and they have a long-term view of philanthropy. These are the people that are closest to you, and the ones that truly believe in what you're doing. And but one thing I want to say really quick is, as we're looking at people that are good candidates for these types of gifts, multi-level type gifts, who do you think, just in your mind, who do you think are the type of people that you want to start talking to? What types of industries? What are they involved in? No rhetorical questions. Entrepreneurs. I found that people that have family-held private businesses are excellent people to start talking to. Everyone always gets enamored with an executive vice president or the CEO, things like that, and I have wasted so much time just trying to get in to see these people. Entrepreneurs are great places. What types of, this is kind of, I've always been fascinated by this, what type of industries? What kind of industries do you think are good people to start talking to? Real estate can be good, development can be very good. Manufacturing can be good, and I'll tell you what's really interesting is, I came to the conclusion that any business where you get your hands dirty is a great business to start talking to people, okay? Has anyone ever talked to anybody that's in the waste disposal business? Talk to them. Anybody ever talked to people that are in recycling, scrap metal? Talk to those people. I had an interesting conversation with an attorney one time, and he had built multiple businesses, and he started out in the financial aid type industry and in the stuff he was doing as an attorney. Then he got into truck stops. And his friends gave him a hard time because he said, "What are we getting into truck stops for? That's disgusting." He said, "What are you talking about? It's an all-cash business. The people have to have it." So he started to put truck stops all over the country. He said on that business alone, he made more than he ever did in his more highbrow industries. Who owns parking lots? Look for people that own parking lots, cash business. So keep your eyes open for those storage units. People that are involved in that type of industry are wonderful.
One thing I'd like to say also about the last point here, a contributor with a long-term view of philanthropy. I think that's a trigger for somebody that you can also have a discussion about a future gift, a planned gift, to add to the conversation as well. Okay, so we're going to be begin the gift discussion. And, you know, we're all in different forms of raising money. We could be in big campaigns, which are comprehensive campaigns that are going to be for building buildings and building endowment and all sorts of things in between that we need to fund. We may be looking for a transformational gift, which is really going to change a multitude of lives. And these are really, really big gifts. Or the $100,000 gift. And maybe in some of our organizations, it's a $50,000 gift as well. But generally speaking, we're talking about gifts of $100,000 or more and six- and seven-figure gifts, seven-figure and eight-figure gifts. So what we're trying to do is we're bringing to this person who is our friend, who's known us a while, we're trying to bring to them the objectives of our institution, our organization. But the most important thing is we want to have a dialogue with this individual or individuals, we'll talk about that a little bit later, about what we can do together. This is not us over here, them over there, as Arnold mentioned. We're trying to bring two groups together to make a difference in our organization, the people that we serve. Arnold, anything you want to add to that?
It's just to start breaking out of that mindset. You got money, we do good things, give us your money. That's going to be a transactional type of a relationship, not a transformational one. Reactions. What are your philanthropic goals? And this is the foundation of the process that we're talking about. And I've worked for a number of different institutions. And when I ask people, what do they want to do with their life? It's amazing how basic it gets. And you have those dreams too. You have a mission that you want to accomplish in your life as well. When you talk to, how many people work for hospitals? What do you think your donors want to do with their money at a hospital? Biggest picture. Save lives. When we go then, when we talk to them, we say, well, we need this 64 slice CT scanner, things like that. Okay, that's the tool in order to get that done. But the big picture is, their child died at that hospital. They don't want to see that happen again. Their mom died of cancer. I don't want to see one more person die of cancer. That's the kind of emotional reality that's out there. I want to give young men and women a chance for an education. How many people work at a university? How many of your donors have you talked to that said, I wouldn't have been able to get an education unless somebody else helped me? They know the difference between being able to accomplish something in their life and not because somebody helped them. If they can help one, I tell my people at the university, our job is to get one more person a degree from this institution. That's your job. We got a number out there we got to get to, but every time you see somebody walk across that stage to get a diploma, that's the success. You want to feed the hungry. How many of your donors do you know that grew up poor? Seriously poor. I had a gentleman that I knew in Pennsylvania, worked in Pennsylvania. His father was an immigrant from Italy. He was a junk man. He collected scrap. That's what he did. Collected scrap. They were so poor. They had 7 or 8 kids. They were so poor, the food they ate was the food they grew in their small garden. That's what they had. Now this family went on to have one of the largest automotive salvage companies in the country, more real estate than any around that area. Their company hauls out about 60% of the garbage out in New York City. Can you imagine that? They own the landfills where they drop it. Grew up dirt poor. I don't want to see anyone else get hungry. Preserve wildlife. How many people work for organizations where they are for natural history and the environment? They want to see their children and grandchildren see that for the future. One of the most motivating and one thing, a conversation I had with somebody, I worked for a missionary organization, Priests and Brothers, that did missionary work in the Appalachian Mountains and in the Deep South. We were out talked to a contributor, and she talked about her spiritual conversion. Her mission in life was to try to get as many people to heaven as she could. That was a very real mission for her. She wasn't a missionary. She wasn't a priest. She wasn't a sister. What could she do? She could give money so those priests and brothers could get out there. And for her, getting people to heaven was her personal mission. And everyone that contributes to it, they have that in them.
I've been working with a possible major donor, and one of the conversations I had was, again, probing for why do they want to do this, and particularly because they haven't lived in the Detroit area for 40 years. So it was a really interesting discussion we had, and you may hear this too from other people. I want to honor somebody in my family. And in her case, she wants to honor her father, who made his fortune in Detroit, helped thousands of people, and she learned from that, and he taught her everything about philanthropy, and now she wants to give back to the community, but she wants to honor her father above everything else. And so that might be something else she wants to do.
How many people have talked to somebody about a gift when they started crying? That's a lot of people. Why did they start crying? You should start crying. They're giving you the money. That's one of the most humbling experiences about this kind of work. You watch and somebody says thank you because you gave them an opportunity to give. My goodness. That's humbling. That's a beautiful part of what we do.
Okay. I think that all of us know that this part right here is the most important thing you can do with working with your donor, and that is listening to what they have to say. And again, that was touched upon the presentation this morning with Jay. But they're going to tell you all sorts of things about why they want to make this gift, what's important to them, and it's our job to be quiet and let them tell us. So there's all sorts of things. They're going to tell us what they want to accomplish, just like this donor I'm working with right now. I really try to probe further into the reason for wanting to do this major gift, and we, beyond honoring her dad, but also she told me about 5 other things that are meaningful to her and why she wants to do this in the city of Detroit. I just let her talk about her entire life. I asked her, you haven't been here in 40 years. Why now beyond your dad? And she kept telling me reason after reason after reason. And she did start crying. That was the other thing. So very emotional here.
So if you make your donor cry, you're on the right track.
We have to respect their personal mission. That's very important as well. They're just laying it all out there for us. They're talking about their values, and again, it's an emotional thing for them, and we need to respect what that is, even if it doesn't exactly match up to what we want them to fund. So that's just a very important thing. And by engaging them in a dialogue, we're going to help them articulate their mission, or their personal mission. And we just can do that by asking them questions and keep probing about this, and then just listening again. And then it's our job to build that bridge between their personal mission and our organization's mission. So I'll just use this as an example again. United Way is trying to build a youth center associated with one of our turnaround high schools in the city of Detroit. And we are engaging this person to do that with us. And we are finding that her personal mission is really So we're thinking win-win. We've got a ways to go yet in terms of how we craft the gift, but I think we've done the most important thing right now is we've been taking a lot of time listening to the donor to make sure we can move ahead with our plan to help them make that gift.
On that note, what are the kind of questions that you should ask a prospect that you're working with? I mean that seriously. What kind of questions? Why do you give? Why do you give to us? They'll tell you the whole story. Here's another one that, in staff that I work with, I try to make sure you know. What do you want to do? I got a whole brochure about things for the campaign that we want to do. What do you want to do? And it's amazing, they'll tell you. Okay, so once we get to that point, we have an idea about their motivations. I'll start looking at who do we start to pull together in order to make this type of presentation, gift combining, a reality. I really believe, I sincerely believe this, that this is a team effort. I'm right in the middle of a book called The 5 Dysfunctions of Teams, and it's fascinating because one thing as I'm reading it is that I realize that in fundraising, we have an idea that, oh my God, I got a portfolio, I got a goal, I got to get so many visits each month, it's just me out there. No. How many of you have actually closed a gift all by yourself? How many times are the big gifts involve an expert from your institution, a volunteer being involved in some way? So far as me, it's been rare. What I've had is just me and this person and that's it. I've had to bring in other people. So I always like to look at a team. And the team that has been the most successful for me has been a professional fundraiser, a volunteer, and an expert. When I say an expert, that can be the president of your institution, the chairman of a particular department, whatever it is. A volunteer can be a trustee, somewhere like that. There's got to be a role for those individuals. And as the fundraiser, you've got to think through that process. Write it down. Who's involved? What's their name? What's their job as part of this process that you're going through? That's a different level of strategy and planning. And here's my portfolio, make a phone call, see them. I had one person, I said, well, I want you to write down a strategy. He said, well, here's my strategy for all my people. I said, well, what's that? He said, call them up and ask them for a gift. Jeez, that's not a strategy.
I'll share with you that the team I put together for this visit last week consisted of a volunteer who was very close to the organization and knew in detail and had a passion for our education programs. Then I enlisted a scheduler from our engagement group who did a lot of that work for me, but I didn't have to worry about it, so that everything would run on time, because we were doing this over 2 days. We had these folks in for 2 days to show them the vision of what we were trying to do. All told, I had 27 people involved in these 2 days to help us show the vision and get these guests and potential donors inspired by what they saw. And this also included meeting students. They can be the people you're serving, depending on who you're serving, can be very instrumental in inspiring your donor. And we had principals, students, staff that talked about the work that they're doing with our education folks out there in the field. It all came together, and I am completely proud of the team that worked together to make this happen, because they were all on target and all doing a great job.
Okay, so we've got an idea about the motivation. We have an idea about the projects. We know where this person's at. Let's start doing the gift discussion. So now we're in the process with this individual. What I found out has been very interesting in the process is that, especially for larger gifts, it's really important to take the tension out of it, to de-escalate the tension. And the reason why I say that is I really believe that you're asking somebody for something significant. Believe it or not, I think that they are just as nervous about saying yes or no to you than you are in asking for the commitment. We think that they've got all the power, and we're up here, asking, oh my God, if they say yes, I'll hit my goal this year, I might get a bonus. Oh, it's just crazy stuff. They're nervous about it too. If they've been contributing to you, do you think they want to let you down? Do you think they want to say, no, I'm sorry, I don't have the resources. I can't do it right now. That's painful for them. So as soon as possible, at least I found to be helpful, is try to de-escalate the tension in the room. And start by saying, look, we would like to talk to you about a significant gift. We're not talking about a small gift. It's something that's significant. And it's a big decision, and we want you to feel good about this. Giving philanthropy should be enjoyable. It shouldn't be painful. And before somebody says yes or no, and I've said this to people, look, before you even give me an answer on this, we want to show you some possibilities on how this gift could happen. Is that okay with you? If I were to come to you and say, could I give you some examples about how you can make this gift happen? What are you going to say? No. Who's going to say no? No, I don't want to see any possibilities. Get out of here. You must have misread the situation pretty bad if you're at that point. So you want to get to a yes. You want to get to, yes, I'll look at some possibilities. Let's talk about this. You want to move from one yes to another yes, and hopefully to the big yes in this process. We recognize that, look at cash is king. All right, we're going to talk about different types of gifts, but let's talk about some of the gifts that did come through. It was interesting. I did have an experience. I was in New York, and I was with the chairman of a urological department, saw an individual in New York. And we knew that he had money, but really didn't have an idea about how much and where he was at. So we talked about the program and so on. And the director, or the chair of the urological department left. He had given this guy a kidney, saved his life. And I said, look, we want to put some funding ideas in front of you, but I do not want to put something in front of you that is so ridiculous that you're not even going to look at it. Can you give me an idea about where you stand? He said, well, I'm thinking about something that would be significant. And I said, well, look, is it okay with you if I put together some examples that range from $1 million to $5 million so you can start looking at this? Sure, put them together. So that's the next yes, then the next yes. All right, we talked a little bit about moving past yes or no to the gift, to try to take that tension out of the situation, and start talking about how we can start getting that first yes. And I don't know if you've had this experience, but I'll tell you, when I first got into the business, I would have guys tell me this. It's never, maybe I don't have the guts to do it, but anyway, they would always give me this story about how they were sitting there and they were asking somebody for a significant gift, right? And the story is there's a fundraiser there and there's the prospect right there, and they ask him for, let's say, $100,000. Takes the pledge form, slides it over to them. Like I said this, whoever blinks first loses. I've never done that. Maybe it's me. I haven't had I don't know. We're asking somebody for a gift. So the best thing is to take that tension out of there. I also had a very interesting, and I'll tell you this one hurt. We asked an individual for $1 million. I replaced a chairman of the department. Asked this individual for $1 million. The guy didn't make a commitment. Where time was going by. So the CEO was advised, not by me, but to go there and say to him, look, we need $1 million, okay? In order to set this pace for this thing, and I'm not going until we get a commitment from you for $1 million. Guy goes to him, says, $1 million, and I'm not leaving. He says, well, I'll do $100,000 for you. Under the advice of somebody else, what does the CEO say? I need $1 million. So he said, well, thank you. I appreciate your time. I'll do 100,000. It took 3 years for him even to start making any payment to us for that 100,000 and multiple meetings. What happens if somebody says, I'll give you 100,000? What should you say? Thank you. Say thank you. I'll show you how we're going to use that 100,000. And in a year, let's talk about that million.
Okay, so what we want to do is now set up the next step before we leave the meeting. And so use these words. Can I return and show you some options to consider? If I can show you how to make the gift, would that be of interest to you? So what this does is keeps the dialogue moving. So our donors we had in last week, a month before that, it was a phone conversation because the donor lives in Barcelona, Spain. So her financial advisor set the phone call up, and here we are on the phone call, and we're going through a lot of what we're trying to, we're learning about each other, having a great conversation. And I ended the conversation by saying, so would you be willing to travel to the United States and meet us, and meet the kids, and meet the principals, and see the site that we're talking about? And it was like silence for about the longest 2 seconds ever. And she said, of course I will. I think what you're doing is what I want to do. So set up. You just have to ask the question. You can't leave the conversation without inviting them to do something or offering to show them something. So what it means is, in each step, you are just presenting options on how to make the gift, not a yes or no yet.
All right, so now we're to the situation. We asked permission if we could show the different options to people. They've said yes. Who should be in the room? The donor, of course. And I've asked the donor before, who should be in the room? Who would you like as part of this? Not assuming that the spouse should be there. I've had one particular situation, naming opportunity for a building, the spouse didn't even know about the gift. It was a, kind of a traditional family. He made all the decisions financially. Didn't even know about it. Financial planner. That's a big win if they're there. Why do you think financial planner would be good in this situation to have them in the room? They trust them. What's going to happen if the financial planner doesn't like the ideas? You're done. You're done. The conversation's going to stop because he's going to go to his guy or woman and say, what do you think? I don't like it. It just doesn't make sense to me. You're finished. Get them in there. Make them your friend. And that's very important. The children. Now this is a really tricky one. How many times have you guys had meetings with children in the room and it's blown up? Have you ever had that experience? Oh my God. It's horrible. All of a sudden you got a fight on your hands within this family that you never even planned for. So be very careful with that one. Now the financial planner, once they see the value in the gift, that's huge. Because now they can start to hopefully escort this thing through the process. And I've also been very deferential to the financial planner. I've showed them things, printed them out, given to them, and I will ultimately say, look, I'm not a tax attorney. I'm not a financial planner. You're the expert. These are ideas. These are the ideas. But you know much more than I do. They start saying, yes, that's a good idea. Let me look at them. That's great. They're starting to move forward through the process.
So I want to ask the audience, besides the usual suspects in the room, did your donor ask to bring other people who are confidants? Anybody have that situation happen to them? That are close friends that they want to hear about this as well, that they trust? Anybody have that happen? With this donor, this has been the most amazing experience for me, getting into major gift work beyond the planned giving work that I've done. In that phone conversation, the donor said, you know, I would like to bring some close friends with me on this trip because I trust their judgment. And I said, absolutely. I mean, you know, the more friends we can get convinced about the mission, I think the better off we are. And it happened that they came in from New York, London, California, and Miami to be in Detroit to be with her. Obviously, very, very close friends. And what happened in this whole conversation when we were showing them the vision, she used them to ask all the questions so that she could hear us answer, and she didn't have to think about anything else. It's a very interesting situation that happened.
You know, I want to ask you a question, Denise. When they said, can I bring this person, this friend, this planner along, how far along the gifting process do you think you really were at that point?
We were really at the beginning. I mean, I'd worked on this from last fall to even have the phone conversation. And then, you know, we've had this wonderful hour phone conversation. And then it was like, we're coming, and now it's time to really show our donor and her friends what we want to do together.
Mm-hmm.
So it's early on, and we left it where we all acknowledged we're going to have you back. And they all said, oh yeah, we'll all be back. We love what's going on here.
So when you finished up that meeting, how far do you think were the gift after that?
How far are we?
To closing that gift?
I think we're 6 months away. Yes?
How did you get that donor in the first place?
Oh, really great story. So this is the power, if you're involved with any national organizations, this is the power within United Way. One of our colleagues at the United Way in Miami called us and said, look, one of our board members has a client that wants to give back to Detroit. Can you help out? Next thing we know, yes, and next thing we know, we're getting a call from the financial advisor who gets United Way, who helped us orchestrate all of this. So if you're part of a national organization, it's really good to get to know your colleagues around the country because you just never know who's going to be in California but grew up in Detroit and wants to give back to Detroit.
One thing that is challenging, and I don't want you to leave this or be in this room and say, well, you know what, I've got a small social service organization. I don't have people that can contribute like this. I don't have enough donors in order to find these people that can happen. I'll tell you right now, at the university where I'm at, you know, please just keep it in this room among friends. I only have 3,800 donors. That's all. I know soup kitchens that have more donors than we have. We've raised $64 million. It's possible to do. It's absolutely possible to do. Even if you have a social service organization, you have a small contributor base, they're there. And these options are appropriate for them as well. Okay, let's start talking about where we stand with the different options. So we're going to look at a $5 million request. And please just keep in mind this is all relative. Okay? It can be for other size gifts as well. But we're going to use $5 million because this was an actual presentation. So we want to look at giving cash, an income-producing plan, like a charitable remainder annuity, CRT, as well as a request. So 3 components to these types of presentations. Okay, so let's take a look at this. In this example that was given to a particular person, $1 million of the $5 million was done in cash, an annuity for another $1 million, and then a bequest for $3 million. Added up, it's $5 million. So we start taking a look at the benefits of combining. So at a $1 million cash commitment, that's $200,000 a year over 5 years. we take into account the charitable deduction. And I'm sure you've done this before. You say, well, you know, we'd like to contribute this amount of cash, but if you take in consideration a charitable deduction, it's actually less than the amount of money that you're getting, right? Okay, so we have an annuity. When somebody gives an annuity, depending on what they contribute, this was set up for cash, there's a deduction that they'll receive. So the cost of the annuity after deduction for them, the $1 million one will cost them $837,000. That's the deduction. What else are they getting from an annuity? They're getting money back. So every year in this scenario, or 5.1%, they're getting $51,000 back each year. Okay? So cash is going out. I get a charitable deduction for a certain amount, so that cash is costing me less. I'm giving you an annuity. I get a deduction, a partial deduction for that annuity. Oh, and I'm also receiving income. And finally, the $3 million part of the bequest. What's so great about bequest that we always like to talk about, especially in this format when we're talking about people parting with their assets? Where are they going to be when the bequest happens? They're not of this world anymore. They're gone. So this is something that can be, I don't want to say an easier conversation, but this happens after they pass away. So let's take a look at how this all wraps up. All right, what is the real cost of the gift? Cash, when we take it to consider the deductions, $604,000, plus the annuity after the deduction, $837,000. Total $1.4 million minus the income for the annuity after 10 years. So we just added up 10 years on that. So the real cost of this part of the gift, cash annuity, is $931,000. So the cost of them making a $2 million gift is much less. Make sense? You start putting all those factors in there. With the bequest, the total cost of $5 million is $3.9 million. And with the bequest, you can reduce their taxable estate, and also look, while you're doing this, what are the best things for them to give as part of this bequest? Highly appreciated assets, IRAs, are really good in this process in order for them to give. Okay? Let's take a look at the next part of this.
So I just want to say too, what is the coolest thing about presenting all these options? What's so cool about this? And it shows that we care as the organization to provide them with all these options so that they can make the best choice for them, for themselves and their family members.
When we get back to what we talked about, taking tension out of the room, what am I presenting to them? This is how you can do it. You don't have to tell me yes or no, but here are some options on how it's possible to make this happen. And so they're starting to think about that. And there's a big difference. And I know that everyone has gone through this in their life. Let's say you want to attend college, right? And colleges are excellent at this, right? And you say, well, here's the bill. And you're like, I don't even know if I can afford this. What does the person at the recruiter do for you? Let me show you how we can do this. Let me show you how you'll be able to afford it. And all of a sudden, where does your mind go? Mentally, you're starting to sit in class. And mentally, you're starting to walk across that stage when you get your diploma, because you have the idea about how this can start to happen. All right, we talked a little bit about this before, the benefits of contributing closely held private stock. Somebody brought up, we were talking about entrepreneurs. Many entrepreneurs have ownership in their companies in the form of privately held stock. And those are great assets for somebody to start thinking about. Even to fund an annuity, it's possible to do. The owner's going to receive an income tax deduction on the full fair market value of the shares, which is great. You can avoid capital gains on the appreciation, which we know. You can sell the shares back to the corporation or family member. That one's very powerful, especially involving the family. Because mom and dad are thinking about getting rid of shares, giving it to charity. Well, the family, this is careful. This is where you got to start talking to an attorney and make sure everything is good and everything is okay. But it's a way of keeping that ownership of the company within partnerships and with family members. You know, I tell you, the worst phone call that you can get, right? Have you ever had this happen? Somebody says, I just sold my company and now I want to make a gift to you. Why is that a bad phone call? Why is that a bad phone call? They missed a whole opportunity for tax savings. They didn't even realize. And it breaks your heart. You say, I wish you would have called me. I wish you would have called me before. Can use it to fund the charitable gift annuity. Cost basis is zero. The capital gain will be very interesting on personally held private stock. Okay?
So we're running out of time, and so we're getting the high sign from Steve down there. And I was wondering, Arnold, if we could skip this so we can
Skip this one because it's a repeat of the other one. It's just another example.
Okay, so, all right, let's go to the reactions. Because we have a really fun little exercise we really want to take a little more time to do with all of you because we have prizes to give out. Okay, so we wanted to ask you, after you've been through all this with the donor and you've got this, maybe the spouse in the room and the children and the financial planner, what do you think their reactions are going to be to all of this information? Each the donor, what's their reaction? If the spouse is involved, what is their reaction? Children and the financial planner. Feel free. What do you think? What? Yeah. Okay. So.
This is what we've experienced, I think, in the past. Go ahead, Denise.
Yeah. Okay, so your donor might be thinking, wow, this is going to cost me a lot less than I thought it was going to cost me. And I'm getting there. I'm liking this deal. Plus, it's going to satisfy what I want to do to help out my organization. The spouse is probably going to like the idea that they're going to get income from that annuity, and they're going to be looking at this like, this is a pretty good deal. And we all know that a donor may involve their spouse or not in the decision-making process, but we want to have one big happy family if we can possibly do that. You know, if it's a small business or a business, the children are like, well, you know what? This is okay with us now because we know we can keep control of the business. We can keep the wealth in the family. The financial planner is going, yes, I can continue to manage that money and keep their business, and so this is good. We like this as well.
Okay, let's take a look at a couple of real reactions. This is a presentation that I did in Pennsylvania. I gave a gentleman owned a company options between 15, 12, and 10 million, combining the cash, annuity, and bequest. He came back with, we're going to do a $5 million cash gift. Did we lose? No way. It's $5 million in cash. He was able to name a heart sign. But we put the ideas out there. The other one, just recently, presented this idea with 3 options at $5 million, $2.5 million, and $1 million. Didn't do any of them. He ended up giving us life insurance policies. What if you get nothing? What if you present this and get nothing? Have you lost? What have you done? They're thinking. All of a sudden they're thinking about this stuff. It's on the table, and that's a huge step forward.
So, through all of this process, what we've done as the fundraisers, the gift planners, is we've moved the donor to a different level of thinking about their gift and their philanthropy. We have opened the discussion for the donor and maybe other family members to use different tools and assets to complete their philanthropic mission. And there's always a way to present options for both cash and planned gifts that will make the gift larger. Okay.
All right. We talked a little bit about the results. What if they only give a bequest? Is that bad? No. What if they give a smaller cash gift and no planned gift? No, it's not bad. If they give nothing, you elevated the institution's view with that donor. You're asking for something more significant they did before. So I've not seen this process where it's been negative, where anyone throws you out of the office and says, get out of here, I don't know what you're talking about. You've elevated their thinking. Are there any questions? All right? All right, I'm sorry, time for the fun stuff, and this is where you guys got to participate, or some volunteers, okay? This is what we got for you, this is what you can win. And I love what the guy said before. We got a contest for 2. We had these made up. It says, I changed the world, I'm a fundraiser. And that's the honest to goodness truth. I had somebody tell me one time, you are in a noble profession. I never had anybody say it to me. Person said that to me, and the moment I thought about it, you know what, he's absolutely right. And what you do is noble. It absolutely is noble. Okay, so here's the contest. All right, so we're going to have 3 volunteers. I want you to think really quick because you're going to have to tell your story. To win this first one is, what was the craziest thing you ever did for a gift? The craziest thing you ever did for a gift. And I'll tell you what I did one time. So I'll tell you, had a gentleman out in California, lived out in Santa Barbara. So I said, I'm going to be seeing some people out in Santa Barbara, and I'd like to come and visit you to talk to you about a project. Did I have any visits out in Santa Barbara other than him? No, I didn't. I'm sorry, I was lying. I went out, got on a flight, flew out to California, talked to him about a gift, flew back the same day, came back to Cleveland in order to present an option for the person. The accountant looked at my expense and oh my goodness, it got all over me. Why would you go out to California for one meeting, one flight? This costs over $2,000 in the institution. So anyway, I apologized, resulted in a $5 million gift. So I was happy about that. All right, so we need 3 people. What's the craziest thing you've ever done? I want to hear your story.
Bill Winkler, tell your story. A crazy story about the craziest thing you ever did to go get a gift.
No, that's like a baseline for fundraisers. I'm in your area and I'm going to be seeing people.
Stand up, Bill. Stand up.
Over and above lying. Well, I didn't follow the directions of my supervisor. I went to a meeting with somebody, and the supervisor said, make sure that you ask them for a minimum of $25,000. That's the first time I ever met this guy. And I went, and rather than ask for $25,000, I listened. And in 3 meetings, he gave me $250,000.
Fantastic.
And if I would have asked for 25, he could have easily signed that. But instead, he told me what he wanted to do, and it ended up being $250,000.
I love that because you didn't listen to your supervisor. How many times, I got to tell you this myself, right? When I listen to my supervisor, I've been threatened to be fired 3 times. Honest to goodness. Somebody over there.
Oh, okay, go ahead.
I want the T-shirt, but I have a story. Was calling on a donor in Allen Park, of all places. And typically, we think of high-end donors as being zip codes that are not Allen Park. For those of you who are local, and I made the call, made the visit, and I worked for an organization that, from time to time, sent out postcards to various donor and constituent bodies, and just said, "Gee, are you interested in a planned gift?" And there was a whole procedure I was supposed to follow. You call, you make an appointment, you do this, you do that, you do something else. I had one of these postcards. I was in the neighborhood. I decided, just for the heck of it, to stop by and knock on the door, and I did. It was. I guess you could arguably say it was a warm call because this person had already returned a phone call or a postcard. But I made no phone call. Didn't say I was coming. Just knocked on the door. Had a name badge on. And I will tell you, stand here now. The gentleman opened the door. I said, "Hi, my name is Jeff Jacobs, and I'm with such and such an organization." He said, "Where you been? I've been waiting for you. I want to do a charitable gift to it." And of all days, and we all carry all that paperwork with us and all that stuff. I didn't have it. I said, will you be here at the same time tomorrow morning? He said, yes, and I'll be waiting for you. I went back to my office, picked up the paperwork, 9 o'clock the next morning, 10 o'clock, I was at his door, we did a charitable gift annuity for $10,000.
Fantastic.
Okay, one more, right here.
A gentleman called me and I've now picked him up. He lives in a little trailer park and the trailer was going to fall over into the little canal next to it. This was over Ann Arbor Airport area. And I picked him up because he wanted to go to lunch. And so, but we had to go to the Western Market and we got a little soup. You go to that little counter and you get soup in a little plastic cup. And so I got the soup, went back to his little trailer, and he provided the crackers. He had those at home. And he did give me $2 million.
Fantastic.
There we go. Thank you.
Okay, we're out of time, unless anyone's got some other crazy stories. I got a lot of those crazy stories, I'll tell you. Thanks a lot for listening. We really appreciate it. Denise, anything?
No, thank you very much. It's a pleasure being in this fundraising community. I think we all do great work, and I'm, just very grateful to be a part of it. Thank you for listening to us this morning.
It's good to meet you.
And to express our appreciation, we have little certificates for a donation to their favorite charity. We have one for Arnold and one for Denise. And thank you so much for giving us some ideas on how we can be ready for just about any situation. Please make sure that you're stopping by to see our exhibitors today, Fifth Third, Crescendo, AFP, PNC. These conferences could not happen without their support, so make sure that you're stopping by and visiting with them. And our next session is going to start in just